When it comes to mental warfare, Kaguyasama Love's War is right up there with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Love is a battlefield after all, and there's no one I'd rather have by my side than a horrifying manifestation of my fighting spirit. Yeah, that definitely won't make high school any more awkward. Shuchin Academy, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Let's start with the president himself, Miyuki Shirgane. Obviously, Shirogane is a really hardworking guy. He gets top test scores, holds down a part-time job, and still has time to dodge Chika. He's got a lot going on, so I'd like to give him a stand that can help him achieve all of his goals. Enter Octopus's Garden. With a head like one of Shirogane's beloved Octoweenies and a body more ripped than handsome Squidward, this stand is Shirogane's secret weapon. Octopus's Garden shares the heavy weight of the presidency and the golden aguilette.
What?
It's like that.
What is that?
It's like that gold chest thingy. I'm pretty sure that's it. Is it?
Aguilette.
Yeah! Octopus's Garden has a
Aguilette
of its own, but instead of wearing it as a flashy accessory, it uses it to wrangle up ne'er-do-wells. Like Wonder Woman's golden lasso, the special move can lasso its target. As soon as melting down before an exam, spreading nasty rumors about Ishigami, or exhibiting alpha behavior, Shirogane can get them back in line with golden slumbers. The golden rope has a calming effect, imparting some of Shirogane's seriousness to whomever it touches. Anyone wrapped in golden slumbers develops a strong sense of purpose and the desire to do their very best. But golden slumbers is a double-edged sword. Targets will work themselves to death if deaf. They'll work themselves until they're deaf. Targets will work themselves to death if they're under its effects for too long. In extreme cases, they could even develop the president's signature steely glare. I definitely don't want that. But Octopus's Garden isn't just about suppressing our baser instincts. At its core, Shirogane just wants to bring out everyone's best. To help its classmates unlock their potential, Shirogane uses a more subtle tactic. His special move, Come Together, creates a tiny magical Octoweenies. I'm an adult. I'm not gonna laugh at the phrase Octoweenies, which Jacob made that one time in the video. These little guys are the perfect addition to any bento lunch, but Shirogane's Octoweenies are extra special. Anyone who eats them will be blessed with the clarity and peace of mind they need to be their best selves. You know how Shirogane helps Miko with her speech before the election? Now imagine it was a delicious Octoweenie instead, with just one, oh my God. With just one bite of the Octoweenie, Miko would have had the confidence she needed to deliver her speech. And I guess not have him like help her through the whole thing. That would be a lot easier of a solution. I feel like if I have to do that with you, you probably shouldn't have been president. Anyway, show logistics aside, I'm gonna keep talking about Octoweenies. Shirogane is nothing if not selfless, so unfortunately the Octoweenies have no effect on him. It's probably for the best though. If they did, he'd just have to put aside his pride and ask Kaguya out and like episode 1. Come Together is a pretty cool power, but it has some limitations. It's pretty weird to just carry tiny, super masculine looking Octoweenies. It's even weird to try to force other people to eat them all the time. And don't forget, this is Kaguya-sama Love's War, so I have a feeling just getting a target to eat those Octoweenies will be half the battle. Hayasaka rejects the weenies because she knows Kaguya would be offended if she took one, and Miko Ino is convinced the whole Octoweenie thing must be some kind of lewd trick. And granted, looking at this thing, that's a fair assumption. But Kaguya's the hardest mark of all. No matter how much she wants to indulge in a tasty, life-changing Octoweenie, don't like that sentence. She's gonna make Shirogane really work for it. The president's stand may be all about unlocking hidden potential, but Ishigami's stand, Pretty Hate Machine, allows him to embrace some less desirable parts of his personality. Ishigami is a whiz with numbers, but his social graces can be pretty rough around the edges. Who can blame him? Social anxiety is real, and when you have to spend your time with people as tightly wound as Kaguya and Shirogane, not to mention the force of nature that is Chika as well, you'd be drained too. Thankfully, Pretty Hate Machine is a long-range stand, because what better way to avoid social anxiety than with social distancing? I still shudder when I hear that word. Pretty Hate Machine spots its targets from a distance, and then the gears start turning. Like Ishigami, it's incredibly good at analyzing numbers and trends up to a certain point. Pretty Hate Machine scans its targets, assessing their strengths, weaknesses, vulnerabilities, blood types, and current moods. It then prints out a detailed report for Ishigami. Whenever Ishigami swerves a direct assault from Chika or gets on Kaguya's good side, you know Pretty Hate Machine had something to do with it. But no report can truly capture the complexity of the human heart. With people as volatile as Kaguya and as unpredictable as Chika around, Pretty Hate Machine has to kick itself into overdrive to get even a basic read on the situation. When it comes to more normal relationship dynamics, like what goes on between Kashiwagi and Tsubasa, Pretty Hate Machine is indispensable. It can quickly diagnose doomed relationships, root out underlying disagreements, and even identify incompatible astrological charts. Wow. How ironic that Ishigami's greatest strength is also his greatest vulnerability. Pretty Hate Machine's special ability, Ring Finger, is a crazy accurate compatibility test. When Kaguya and the President see Ring Finger and declare that Kashiwagi and Tsubasa are meant to be, they know that they can't rest until they trick Pretty Hate Machine into running a report on them too. The President tries to trick Ishigami into using Ring Finger on him by feeding him one of his come-together Octoweenies. But before Ishigami can taste that sweet, sweet Octoweenie, this next stand slaps it right out of his mouth. Oh my gosh. Who wrote this? So when we first met Kaguya, she was a pretty cold and distant Jotaro type. But since working on the student council alongside Shirogane, she's gone from Jotaro to Josuke and warmed up to the idea of having friends. But like Josuke, she's got a hair trigger. If you say the wrong thing to her, you'll have to answer to Kaguya's stand Gaga, like the lady. I wasn't in there. Please don't add that.
That cleared up everything.
You didn't know? On the surface, Gaga is a pretty simple close range stand. Once it gets close enough, it'll slap whatever smug smile you're wearing right off your face. Anything to make Lady Kaguya feel superior, right? Just like with Josuke's stand Crazy Diamond, each slap has a bonus effect. The slap warps the victim's image to reflect how Kaguya feels about them. Aw, damn. If she likes them, then the slap will transform them into a golden god that can do no wrong in her or anyone else's eyes. Or if Kaguya absolutely hates you, that slap will morph you into the most ugly, hateable creature that anyone has ever seen. And the effects last for, well, as long as Kaguya feels that way. I mean, how do you think Ishigami got the way he is? You think he chose that emo haircut? Of course, Kaguya's feelings about people can change on a dime. 1 second, Chika's her best friend. The next, she's a traitorous skank. Gaga slaps Chika silly even though Chika has no clue. Strangely, she seems almost immune to Gaga's effect. Maybe that's why they've been able to stay friends for so long. Over the past year and a half, Gaga's powers have grown. With every emotional outburst or internalized panic, Gaga's slapping arm gets stronger. Hadrian's doing like some robot dance right now. I don't know what that was. It's been getting so much exercise lately that Gaga's unlocked a special ability, Bad Romance. That's a good name. Kaguya grew up as a sheltered rich kid. I mean, she didn't even know about the birds and the bees until she was in high school. I don't know whether to blame her parents, the school, or both. Point is, Kaguya is a total stranger to conflict. She can usually keep a cool head, but she's still bound to crack. Gaga slaps faster and faster as Kaguya loses control of her emotions. And she can't use Gaga around cat ears. They're banned in the Student Council for a reason. If she deployed Gaga when stargazing with the president, he'd be slapped into next Tuesday. And poor Ishigami has been on the receiving end of more than one of Gaga's slap fests. Gaga slaps aren't physically painful, but if a victim gets slapped too much, they get beaten into an unrecognizable amorphous blob. This is her special ability, Bad Romance. Using her powers as a tsundere, Kaguya unleashes a terrifying volley of blows. Poor Shirogane has been beaten into a blob so many times, even he doesn't know if he's the pinnacle of masculine achievement or worse than a lowly worm. Eventually, Bad Romance wears off and Kaguya's victim will just go back to normal. But after that kind of temper tantrum, Kaguya and her stand are still too emotionally raw to be effective. If Gaga attempts to slap someone in this weakened state, Bad Romance misfires and affects Kaguya instead, revealing her true feelings. You know how she pulled Shirogane into her bed when she was sick in her feverish days? That's how she gets when Gaga's burnt out. Slapping the president in that state might as well be a confession of love right there. Gaga's going on, but honestly, I just kind of figured that Hayasaka was Kaguya's stand this whole time. Well, turns out that Kaguya's personal maid has a stand of her own. Even without a stand, Hayasaka has to be the most capable and terrifying person on the entire show. Seriously, she's a jack of all trades and master of all of them too. She's an excellent maid, a good friend and confidant to Kaguya, a dating coach, and a combat expert. On top of all of that, she's a master of disguise. Like when Shirogane saw her in school after she posed as Hayasaka A. Smithy. Sure, he thought she looked familiar, but Hayasaka shut that down real quick. And among all her talents, that's her greatest strength, reading a situation and transforming into whoever she needs to be in the moment. Her stand, Private Dancer, can do the same thing, but in a very literal sense. Private Dancer is basically like a humanoid ball of liquid metal, kind of like the T-1000 or those radical kids from Capri Sun commercials. The stand can morph into exactly whoever its target wants to see and how they want to see them. Basically, Private Dancer reflects his target's desires. It's just like when Hayasaka A. Smithy was trying to seduce Shirogane. She knew exactly what buttons to push and how to win his heart. He already had eyes for Kaguya, so it didn't work out, but it's not like Hayasaka messed up. She hardly makes any mistakes. Remember the scene when the president fell asleep on Kaguya's shoulder and Hayasaka had to make sure no one walked in on them? She deflected wave after wave of interlopers and even distracted Chika. That's Private Dancer's power at work. If Kaguya needs to do some recon on a potential date spot with Shirogane, Hayasaka and Private Dancer can scout the scene, seamlessly blending with the crowd as they gather intel. If the student council needs to throw a potential rival off their scent, Hayasaka can just send Private Dancer over as a distraction. But what if Hayasaka used Private Dancer on Miko Ino? Would it turn into one of those perfect, bland, crew-cut kids from her campaign poster, or would it turn into like a delinquent that Miko could bring to justice? See, that's the true power of Private Dancer, because it reflects its target's innermost desires. It also reveals their weaknesses. If it was targeting Kaguya, Private Dancer would probably turn into a shoujo-fied version of the president. And for Chika, I think it turned into Chika's perfect buddy, someone who always wants to play board games and is engrossed by every mystery the detective of love solves. Hayasaka could probably unlock even more powerful abilities, but because she's naturally good at everything she does, she's kind of complacent. Private Dancer is already strong enough to bring down the president, Ishigami, and anyone else who might get in her way. Why push it? Miko is the newest member of the student council, but she's already a powerful stand user. Driven by her strong sense of justice, Miko Ino and her stand, the Works, consider it their sacred duty to hold the students of Shuchin Academy to the highest standards. As a freshman, she's new to the school and to being a stand user. The Works manifested on her first day at the academy when she saw the depraved state it was in. Students were holding hands, planning dates, and rolling up their skirts in defiance of the dress code. She felt a stab in her heart, and thus the Works was born. As a lowly freshman, it's hard to convince her fellow students to follow her code of conduct, but with the Works by her side, she becomes a terrifying force of morality. Like Miko herself, the Works springs to action at the slightest hint of rebellion. With its special move, Hammer to Fall, it identifies rule breakers. Just by pointing in their direction, the Works can ascertain their target's motives. Are they feeling rebellious, having a bad day, or worse, do they just want to have a nice time? Not on Miko's watch. Hammer to Fall transmit the infractions it sees to Miko telepathically, and she uses her deep understanding of Shuchin Academy's code of conduct to issue a harsh judgment. Is it a student making plans to go shopping after school? They must be trying to avoid their homework. Are they talking loudly at a theater? They're besmirching Shuchin Academy's name. Holding hands? The Works has no choice but to brand them with a scarlet letter. After Miko reviews Hammer to Fall's evidence, the Works doles out the punishment with its terrifying gavel. Luckily, the gavel is more about psychological warfare than physical combat. When it smacks an evildoer, it doesn't do much damage, but it does sentence its victim to good behavior. The length of the sentence depends on the severity of the crime, but trust me when I say Miko rules with an iron fist. The Works is a lot like Talking Head from Golden Wind. It compels its victim to behave a certain way, even if they don't want to. In the Works case, its victims are forced to follow the Public Morals Committee's guidelines to a T, starting with getting a mandatory buzz cut. She thought those were hot. The horror! Despite Miko's harsh punishments, she's really trying to do the right thing. When the term of the Works sentence has passed, the stand's effect wears off and the victim can go back to their usual business. Some of her victims are never the same, while others seem to stray even farther from the right path. Do Miko and the Works do more harm than good? Well, the jury's still out on that one. Miko's stand is pretty scary and all, but I think we can all agree that Chika is the most terrifying character, maybe in all of anime, and you know she has a terrifying stand to match. Effective stando power is all about unpredictability. Chika's the resident agent of chaos on the student council, so you know that she has a stand that even King Crimson can't see coming. Damn, that says a lot. Seriously though, still, how does King Crimson work? No one really answered that from the last time we did this. He steals time, okay, but what does that mean? I don't get it. I still don't get it since the last time. That was a month ago. I still don't understand. Chika's so bubbly, she could even lull a mob boss into a false sense of security. We already saw what she did to that ramen connoisseur. Oh yeah, I love that episode. See, the thing about Chika is that though she appears to be totally unhinged on the surface, her every action is precisely calculated based on a set of rules only Chika understands. She's basically the Darby brother of Kaguya-sama. She always wants to play games, but takes them way too seriously. And of course, the odds are always stacked in her favor since she, made the game. That's how her stand Game of Heart works. She invites you to play a game. Mesmerized by her strange gravity-defying hair bow, you agree. Little do you know you're playing for your life. Chika's Game of the Heart is kind of like Jumanji without the whole jungle theme, but it's just as deadly. Game of Heart is based on the Sugoroko style game that Chika forced the student council to play. The point of the game is to navigate a lifetime's worth of luck, heartbreak, and random events. But since this game is a stand for as long as you're playing, you'll be trapped within the world of Game of the Heart. Time moves differently when you're playing. Remember the episode of Star Trek where Picard thinks he lived 40 years, had a whole family, and learned to play the flute, but then found out only minutes had passed? Me neither, but Casey loves Star Trek, so she forced me to make that reference. Thank you, Casey. You could be married for 20 years in the game, but only 2 hours will have passed in real time. Basically, Game of the Heart gives Chika all the time she needs to wage psychological warfare on her victims. Of course, she doesn't see it that way. Chika probably thinks Game of Heart is just some innocent fun, or maybe even a matchmaking game. But just ask Shirogane how fun it was. Marrying Chika, having 9 kids with her, and then getting a divorce, that'll suck the life even out of the most vibrant student. I'd date Chika. I don't know about the whole life plan thing, but yeah. But I'd consider. She's good at the piano. It's pretty cool. Or take Kaga. She may have had a lot of luck when she engaged with Game of Heart, but did she seem happy? Or did she look dead inside? You be the judge. Game of Heart is perfect for Chika because a lot of what happens is random. The randomness is Game of Heart's greatest weakness, but Chika is totally unfazed by it. She can roll with just about any turn of events, well, except being the last to know it's the president's birthday. Still, as the ringleader of this twisted circus, she couldn't care less if Ishigami dies an untimely death, or if Kaguya turns into a lonely old crone. It's just a game, right? No, absolutely not, because this game is a stand and it's as broken as heaven's door, so you better believe it's going to f some people's up. When the game concludes, you'll be able to return to the material world, but the events of the game will be imprinted on you. After dying early, Ishigami is haunted by a lingering sense of doom, kind of like a normal day for Ishigami, but with more menacing kanji. After their in-game marriage, the president finds himself in some awkwardly romantic positions with Chika, despite trying his damnedest to avoid them. And Kaguya? Well, she's cursed to watch as the president and Chika are thrown into romantic situation after romantic situation until her will is completely broken. Only Chika is immune, and honestly, she's completely unaware of the devastating effects of her stand. And just imagine Game of the Heart Requiem. Every time, right? It's a Requiem. I bet Chika wouldn't even need to suck people into a game. Chika could alter real world rules like gravity as she saw fit. I mean, I still don't know how that hair bow works, so she might have a Requiem stand already. Well, I'm officially terrified, so if there's anyone I don't trust with a reality manipulating stand, it's definitely Chika. But maybe Doppio is Chika's OTP. They could hook up and fundamentally alter the fabric of reality together. Seems like a good match to me. Okay, anyway, I've ruined enough lives for today, so let me know who you want to see with a stand next. What other properties make a good mashup with JoJo's? I'm Kurt. Thanks for watching GetintheRobot, your anime watch list.